Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm back here in my office studio answering another question that I got asked about my most recent video about blending car bumpers or about doing smart repairs. So I got a lot of questions about certain things and I'm gonna start answering them by making some of these videos. So if you guys have any questions, you want me to answer them and you like the way I make these videos, ask me in the comments and I'll try to make a video answering these questions through these videos that I'm making now, so that way you guys can get some better insight and I can help you guys do what you need to do and make these videos for you. So one of my viewers asked me a question about this video that I just made, and this question is from Mr. 8020 8709, and he asked me, he starts by saying, love the video, mate. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm glad you love the video, man. So he says, can you tell me how big your compressor is? That's very easy. I don't have a very big compressor. I have a medium compressor. So my compressor is a Home Depot Husky 20-gallon compressor. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to pick that up. But any 20-gallon compressor would work for this kind of jobs. I'm not painting whole cars. A 20-gallon should cover what you need to do in small repairs, but if you're doing bigger jobs, you're probably gonna need like an 80-gallon. And if I was doing bigger jobs, I would probably be replacing my 20-gallon compressor for an 80-gallon. So I'm only using a 20-gallon and it's putting out enough air so that I can get these smaller bumper jobs done. So 20 gallons and you should be able to get some of that work done. He also mentions that HVLP guns might use too much air depending on the compressor that you're using, and that can be the case depending, like I said, how big you're painting your jobs are. You're gonna need a bigger compressor depending on how big your jobs are gonna be. So if you're painting big jobs like big panels or whole cars or the whole side of a car, you might need a bigger compressor depending on how much air you need and how much pressure you use. I usually use a lot of pressure, so I would need a bigger compressor to do a big job, but I can do with the 20-gallon compressor. That seems to do the job for me right now. But like I said, if I needed to, I would definitely get a bigger compressor. You just have to get for what you need. So the next thing he asks me is, why did you use alcohol instead of wax and grease remover? So the reason I use alcohol in some of my videos is because these are for DIY people to be able to do these things. Most people have alcohol in their house, and alcohol is a good way to clean your parts or your bumpers or anything else that you're trying to paint, because it's already in your house. It's not something you have to purchase, and I'm trying to help people do DIY type of paint jobs, and this is why I use alcohol in some of these videos. In most cases, yes, I will be using Prep Solve or wax and grease remover to clean my panels, but for the sake of DIY and saving money, I use alcohol. The next thing he asks me is, how much do you charge for these jobs? So for this specific job, this is a person that I know, is a personal friend of mine, and I didn't charge him a lot of money because I wanted to save him some money. So I charged like $400 to do this job for him because it was like a 4-hour job and I didn't have to do a lot or spend a lot of money on materials for this specific job. And the person also brought their own materials. So keep in mind, that's another thing you have to consider if you're doing these kind of jobs. If the person is willing to bring their own materials, you adjust the price according to that. If you have to put out the materials, you have to get the price of the materials first and then charge them for the labor that gets included into the job. So for this specific reason, this person brought their materials and they spent, I think, about $200 in paint alone, because this is a 3-stage pearl and it's an expensive paint. 3-stage pearls are usually more expensive than regular colors, and they went with a top line paint vendor like PPG, which covers good, but it's also a little pricey. You can probably get cheaper paint from certain different paint makers or manufacturers that make paint. Depending on who you use, PPG's up there. They have expensive paint. Spies Heckers, Use-Sata is one of my favorite to use. I like to use theirs. There is a lot of paint lines out there that you can find that you might be able to get a better price, but keep in mind, depending on what you're paying for in the paint line, if you're getting cheap paint, it might not cover well, so you're gonna have to get a lot. when you get a little bit more of an expensive, more like a paint that costs a little bit more money, you might pay more up front, but you're gonna be doing less. So like, let's say if the paint cover is good, you might be able to cover it in 3 coats and be done with it. If the paint is cheaper and doesn't cover well, you're gonna have to put a lot more coats and you're gonna need a lot more paint. So that's something to consider. So if you guys need anything, leave it in the comment section below. I'm gonna keep trying to answer some of these questions that I get through these videos, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it and get something from it. So until next time, peace. See you guys in the next one. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified every time I post a new video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.